Tensions in West Asia continue to rise. The Israeli army has launched strikes next to the Syrian presidential palace and also targeted places near the Syrian army and defense ministry headquarters. The attack follows a dramatic escalation in the southern Syrian city of Suwaida, where intense battles have broken out between the Syrian government forces and the Druze fighters. Now, just hours before the airstrikes, Israel had issued a stern warning to Syria to withdraw its troops from Suwaida or face the consequences.
قصف بغارتين استهدفت هيئة الأركان بشكل مزدوج من اليمين ومن اليسار. شاهدنا قطع من المبنى تتطاير. قصف جديد يا شباب، قصف خذونا بسرعة 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 بسرعة.
إذا استهدافنا من هيئة الأركان بشكل كامل.
Syrian security forces could be seen monitoring the streets near the military headquarters in Damascus, and that's following the Israeli strike. Suwaida, home to Syria's Druze minority, has turned into a battlefield. A ceasefire announced by Damascus on Tuesday did not even last a single day. Deadly street battles continue to flare between Druze fighters and government forces. Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara ordered massive deployment of troops in Suwaida. According to the UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, more than 250 people have died in the fighting, including over 130 soldiers of the Syrian armed forces. The Israeli government has dismissed Syria's new leadership under Ahmed al-Shara, calling it a group of extremists. Israeli officials see the Druze as potential allies in Syria and claim that their intervention is meant to shield them from state aggression.
We have an obligation to maintain the southwestern region of Syria as a demilitarized zone bordering Israel. We will not allow a return to a situation where a second Lebanon is being established there, and we are also obligated to protect the Druze residents. We are doing this through intense operations.
Well, footage released by the Israeli military shows airstrikes hitting Syrian military vehicles en route to Suwaida. Israeli warplanes launched at least 7 air raids across the Suwaida region and also struck many parts of the capital, Damascus. Syria's health ministry said Israeli strikes on Wednesday killed at least 1 person and wounded 18 others. The United States, according to an Axios report, has now asked Israel to halt its strikes on Syrian military forces in southern Syria. The report, citing a U.S. official, said that Israel has assured the Americans that it would cease the attacks on Syria now. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that the United States was concerned, adding that he had just spoken to the relevant parties over the phone. But the fire is spreading. Many Israeli Druze could be seen breaching the Israeli-Syria border fence in the Golan Heights, crossing into Syrian territory. The IDF attempted to stop the breach by firing flashbangs and tear gas. Fires broke out in open fields as crowds surged across the frontier. Netanyahu urged the Druze community not to enter Syria.
The Druze citizens of Israel, the situation in Suwaida, the situation in southwestern Syria is very serious. The IDF is operating, the Air Force is operating, other forces are operating. We are acting to save our Druze brothers and to eliminate the regime's gangs. And now I have one request from you. You are citizens of Israel. Do not cross the border. You are endangering your lives.
Well, the Israeli strikes on Damascus mark a dangerous turn. Developments and diplomacy here will decide whether this conflict spreads. War shadows deepen. Can this one be controlled before it gets out of hand? A nightmare isn't just a bad dream. It could be a silent assassin in the dark. What if your mind, in its deepest sleep, could terrify you to death? New research is challenging what we know about fear, sleep, and sudden death. Take a look.
Dreams are the mind's cinema, vivid, strange, and sometimes beautiful. They stitch together fragments of memory, emotion, and fantasy in the theater of the unconscious. We smile, get tense, and sometimes mumble some words. But when dreams morph into nightmares, they twist reality into terror. They don't just frighten, they shake the body, rattle the brain, and now scientists say they could kill. Yes, kill. In the chilling silence of sleep, your worst fears can erupt like a storm. Heart racing, blood surging, body paralyzed, brain screaming silently in the dark. Nightmares are not harmless. In fact, they may be the brain's cry for help or a warning sign of something deadly lurking inside. A new study presented at the prestigious European Academy of Neurology has stunned the medical world. Researchers found that people who suffer from frequent vivid nightmares might be at a far greater risk of neurodegenerative diseases, including Parkinson's. What's worse, nightmares may not just be a symptom, but an early trigger, a red flag years before diagnosis. The mechanism is deeply disturbing. Nightmares trigger an intense fight or flight response, flooding the body with stress hormones like cortisol. Our sleeping brains, unable to distinguish fantasy from reality, react as if the threat is genuinely occurring. According to scientists, this prolonged nightly surge of stress, combined with the profound disruption to vital sleep quality and duration, creates severe damage at a cellular level, accelerating the shortening of telomeres which cap the DNA and other markers of biological aging. It's no longer safe to ignore your nightmares. They may be your body's wake-up call. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And as long-range weapons become the new focus of modern wars, the conversation is no longer just limited to Ukraine. It now extends to Ukraine's allies as well, especially in Europe. Does Europe itself have the long-range strike capabilities it needs? How many such weapons do NATO's European members possess? And is it enough to defend themselves if a direct war with Russia ever breaks out? Let's break it down for you in the next few minutes. Just days ago, a top US Army general warned NATO, and I'm quoting him here, the Russian army is bigger today than when it started the war in Ukraine, and they will continue investing in long-range rockets, missiles, and sophisticated air defenses. More alliance capability is really important, unquote. Now, this is a quote from Major General John Rafferty, speaking to Reuters from a US base in Wiesbaden, Germany. He said that Russia's effective use of long-range missiles in Ukraine has perhaps convinced Western militaries of their shared importance in a bid to destroy command centers, transportation hubs, and missile launchers far behind enemy lines. Rafferty has just completed his assignment commanding the US Army's 56th Artillery Command in Germany. This command is preparing for the temporary deployment of American long-range missiles in Europe from 2026. But the question is, will these deployments go ahead under Trump? I ask this because the deal was signed under former US President Joe Biden. The deal signed under Biden included Tomahawk missiles, which has a range of 1,800 kilometers, and the Dark Eagle hypersonic missiles that is under development as of now, having a range of 3,000 kilometers. Of course, Russia has criticized the planned deployment of long-range US missiles in Germany, calling it a serious threat to its national security. That's what Russia has said. Moscow has been vocal about this. It has also, on several occasions, dismissed NATO's concerns that it could attack an alliance member and has instead cited NATO expansion as one of its reasons for invading Ukraine in 2022. Still, NATO as of now remains worried because despite Western sanctions, despite Ukraine receiving billions worth of weapons, Russia has kept its war machinery running and is still advancing in eastern Ukraine. Just 2 days ago, French President Emmanuel Macron called for a stronger Europe, saying, and I'm quoting Macron here, "To be free in this world, you must be feared, and to be feared, you must be powerful," unquote. Fabian Hoffman, a missile specialist at Oslo University, estimates that the US provides around 90% of NATO's long-range missile capabilities. He told news agency Reuters, and I quote him here, "Long-range strike capabilities are crucial in modern warfare. Not having them puts you at an immediate disadvantage." Unquote. And Europe, as of now, knows, it's aware about its weaknesses. Under pressure from Trump, many European nations are increasing defense spending, but the reality remains European air-launched cruise missiles like the British Storm Shadow, French Scalp and German Taurus only have ranges of a few hundred kilometers. France's naval cruise missile MDCN can travel over 1,000 kilometers. In comparison, Russia's missile arsenal is one of the most advanced and diverse in the world. With hypersonic weapons already operational, and just for comparison here between the weapons with NATO and Russia, here's how Russia's missile arsenal stacks up against NATO. Russia fields hypersonic weapons like Kinzhal and Zircon, alongside its Iskander and Caliber missiles, with ranges stretching up to 2,500 kilometers. In comparison, Europe's longest range missiles barely crosses 1,000 kilometers. And the long-range strike capability that NATO does have is all thanks to the United States of America, as most long-range missiles belong to the US. Take a look at this map on your screens right now. It shows where US bases are located in Europe. And it also shows that Europe's security umbrella is propped up by the United States of America. From Ramstein to Avignon and Wiesbaden, US bases across Europe host all these important assets. And there are several more bases as well. But as you can see, without US support, Europe's strike reach is severely limited. So the question remains, without the US, is Europe virtually unarmed? And even with their existing stocks, would they have enough to inflict real damage on Russia if a direct war breaks out? 11 years after it began, the world's biggest human imaging project has now reached a major milestone. Run by the United Kingdom Biobank, it has now finished conducting extensive body scans of 100,000 subjects who volunteered to be a part of this study. These scans, when combined with data on lifestyle, environment, physical traits, blood samples and genetics, it serves as a powerful resource for medical research. Now, since 2014, volunteers have been lining up at facilities across the United Kingdom for a battery of medical scans. Each participant is scanned with 5 different types of MRI, X-ray and ultrasound machines. The data gathered is stored anonymously, but it is linked to each participant's medical and lifestyle information. And the 100,000th participant was identified as Steve.
I've had family who've had health issues. My mum in particular at the moment now, she's suffering from early stages of dementia. Close friends have had cancer and things. Giving up my time for medical research, who can learn from people, the lifestyles, the health, and obviously what their bodies are like, which ultimately, at the end of the day, is going to help medical research for the future.
The goal is to further our understanding of why people, they develop age-related illnesses, how to prevent these diseases from reaching an advanced stage, and also to conduct research into diseases like dementia, heart diseases and diabetes.
This is a huge milestone for UK Biobank because when we started the project 11 years ago, no one thought this was feasible. What this imaging data will enable researchers to do is just to answer questions like, why is it that someone in their early 60s has the heart function or the brain function of someone 10 years older? What are the genetic and lifestyle factors that influence accelerated aging and the development of disease?
Interestingly, the only instance in which volunteers receive individual feedback is if the scans indicate a potentially serious health issue. The aim here is to gather a major amount of data to help scientists research factors that trigger disease and how they manifest in the human body. Launched in 2003, UK Biobank is one of the largest collections of biological samples and health data in the world. The participants in the imaging study will be invited back every few years for new scans to track age-related changes to their body. The data has already revealed valuable insights, including the adverse effects of COVID-19 on the brain, how noise from airports threatens heart health, and perhaps how liver diseases can be detected without an invasive biopsy. Over 30,000 terabytes of this anonymized health data has been made available to researchers working for colleges, charities, governments, and the private sector. Most are charged roughly between $3,900 to $11,700. And the goal is early prevention using AI. Researchers can detect patterns in the massive data set that would take humans years to analyze. A rare oil portrait of Mahatma Gandhi is making waves at a London auction, where it has sold for over $200,000. The nearly 1.7 crore in Indian rupees, surpassing all the expectations. This portrait of Gandhi, made by British-American artist Claire Lytton in 1931, is believed to be the only oil portrait that Gandhi actually sat for.
Who the sitter is, it's the history of the painting, it's the artist, and the fact that it's now just coming up for sale, having been only in the artist's collection and in the family's collection after that. So really lots of different parts coming together to make this a really rare picture and a rare opportunity for coming up to sell.
The painting was reportedly made when Gandhi paid a visit to London to attend the second roundtable conference and was introduced to the artist via a political journalist.
So he's a globally significant person, and really the painting deserves a wider audience than 3 or 4 people in an English suburban home. So I think it'd be great if it got seen by more people. Maybe it should go back to India. Maybe that's its real home.
Gandhi has been a topic of research and study across ages. In fact, initially thought to be damaged, this particular work remained in the artist's collection until her death in 1989 in the US, and it was then eventually passed down to her family.